I think that one of the most toxic emotions, the most toxic ways of thinking is with pride. The Bible says pride goes before destruction, and I say, well, yeah, what he said. Over my life, I've found that the root causes of all of my problems, all of my hardships was pride. I use the example of post-secondary education a lot, but it's the least problematic, so here we go. Another thing that deterred me from going and educating myself was the belief that I didn't need it. Because I was better than it, obviously. Everyone else was going off to post-secondary, but I was special. I was meant for something greater. I didn't need to go. I think it's fairly self-evident what the problem with all that is, but how did I get here? As everything goes, we'll have to take it back to my childhood, back to the root of the problem. I'm not trying to brag, but I was a pretty smart kid, in that at the beginning, everything came easy to me. I was given my own special spelling tests. I was part of a special class for young writers. I was homeschooled in grade 3 because the material wasn't challenging enough for me. Anyways, there's a point here. I believed I was special because I was told I was. I was treated different because things came easy to me, and somehow that metamorphosed into pride. Additionally, being raised Christian and being told, you have the right answer, you're right, and the world is wrong, kind of instilled more superiority into me, which is kind of ironic. Of course, I'm not trying to bash the Christian doctrine here, I just wish to understand my own psyche. But you can see how these factors would feed into the mind of a young kid and slowly and subtly tell him he's better than everyone else, even if he acts humble. So this was obviously a problem, but how did I get over this? How did I become the pinnacle of humility that I am today? Well, the nice thing about pride and evil in general is that it destroys itself over time. A toxic way of thinking tends to find a way of choking itself off because no one in their right mind is going to put up with it. Eventually, I got to the point where my prideful nature started to sabotage my well-being. Relationships, physical and mental health, opportunities, and empathy were all bashed in the knees by my belief that I was better, or rather, that I was already best. Pretty soon, my perceived moral and intellectual superiority proved itself evil and stupid. So, if you're prideful, I bid you live a little longer and see if it stays that way. Some ways I might suggest fast-tracking the humbling process, well, at least things that have worked for me, is by being open-minded to other points of view and to actively seek them out. To quote the late great Socrates, I am the wisest man alive, for I know one thing, and that is that I know nothing. Because the more you learn, the more you realize how much you don't know, and that definitely puts you in your place as far as humility goes. Another thing I suggest, which is a little bit more abstract, is to view people as just that, just people. Oftentimes I'd treat people as if they represented an idea because of how they lived, and my truth had to trump the idea of them, or the idea that I had of them, which then ended up negating them as a fellow human. We're all struggling within the same limitations of our flesh, so just seek to understand everyone and everything. Just a little disclaimer though, this doesn't mean that you should excuse toxic or dangerous behavior in others just because you understand the motives. But at least it allows you empathy to know that the person isn't evil. In most cases, they're just tragic. One thing I will say is that I do think it's okay to acknowledge your hard work and achievements and to be proud of progress you've made, but the important distinction is that you cannot let it go to your head. Stay on the grind and don't look behind. Only from the bottom can you see all the way to the top. With people continuing to find more and more differences between each other and using their religious, moral, and intellectual beliefs to exert superiority, I encourage everyone to not look at the differences, but instead look at just how much we're all the same. I'll leave you all with a line by the wonderful band Typhoon from their song Honest Truth. Be kind to all of your neighbors, 'cause they're just like you, and you're nothing special, unless they are too. Please consider liking and subscribing if you see fit to reward my ego with a meaningless metric. Thank you so much for watching. Stay humble, kids. Nobody's perfect. Except maybe the idea of you.